Good morning and welcome. Today is Tuesday, June 17th, and we are working on our 52 scrapbooking project recipes, and today we are on project recipe 24. So let's take a look at that. So this one actually, that we're looking at Purr-fect Kitty Cat collection that's used in the book. The original is the Outback Journey. This is from January 2018, which is basically when Project Recipes kind of first started coming out. And you can see if you went to my Scrapbook with Denise Facebook group, it's a totally different formatting. It's a little bit harder to, you have to go back and forth to see the measurements. These are really easy. So I am going to cut from the book. They are the same. So I already looked into that. But again, if you don't have the book, you can go to my Facebook group, Scrapbook with Denise, and download the one that's there. So let's take a look at the papers we need and what I have selected. You need two pieces for your background of cardstock. Now, you'll notice that these are only 10 by 12. These are from Old Creative Memories. This is the cement color. I really love the cement color. And you can see I'm staying tonal browns. I have some Mediterranean vacation pictures here to see if that might work for this. So I'm going to piece these together. So I have 4 welding strips that I'm going to use so that I can maybe paper save, and maybe I only need to use one, so we'll take a look at that at the end. The next thing that we need is designer paper number 1. So if we look at the project recipe, that's going to be the piece that goes across the middle. So I'm going to use this brown pattern piece, and then that's what's going to be our punches at the top. Right, so again, if you can use both sides, possibly, you can see they've used both sides. Next one, designer paper number 2, the blue C&D, is going to be this bottom piece. So I'm going to use, that's my polka dots here. The next piece, and then 2 mats. So what I'm going to do with these mats, instead of cutting them at 3.5 by 4, I'm going to cut this 4 by 12 so that I can possibly get 2 4 by 6 mats here. The same for G, H, I, and J. I and J are the mats 3.5 by 4.5. Again, I'm going to cut them 4 by 6. I can always cut them smaller, but making them bigger is a little harder. So G and H are these top pieces here that are pink in this picture. I'm going to use this map picture paper. And the last one, I'm going to use cardstock. They use a designer paper. In the original, they are using a designer paper here also, but I'm going to use this brown cardstock, and what that's going to be is going to be my 2 larger mats plus these 4 pieces at the top and bottom, and I think that'll make a good contrast since I have that cement for the background. So let's get started cutting. So our first designer paper, and these are really going to be easy cuts, right? We're cutting 4 by 12, and let me see if I can, all of a sudden, you hear me say this a lot, all of a sudden the sun comes down and I have a glare. So let's go this way so there'll be less of a glare on the book. So we need to cut 2 4 by 12 pieces and then punch. So I don't know, if you have a direction, does it really matter? I mean, we're not using the back of the paper, so I really don't have a direction. So we're going to cut these 4 by 12. So we have 2 of those. One will be for each side, but I'm just going to lay them up since I'm going to be piecing this all together. This last one I'm going to put away, and we're going to talk the punches at when we're done cutting. Designer paper number 2, which I said was my dots. And again, if I want to use the back, doesn't really matter. There's no direction. We're going to cut 2 that are 3 by 12. So the first ones are 4 by 12. These next ones are 3 by 12. So we have 2 that are 3 by 12. And if you follow the directions, we're cutting 3.5 by 4.5. I'm going to cut 4 inches. I'll still have a little piece left over that we'll put to the side. And then I'm just going to cut this at 6 inches. And then again, like I said, I can make these mats smaller if I want, but I want to keep them 4 by 6, just in case I can fit them all. Designer paper number 3, which is my maps. Now, I want my maps to go horizontally, so I'm going to have to rotate my picture. So think about that. Again, I didn't talk about that was designer paper too, but I do want my maps. And then which part of this maps do I want for my page? You are going to see some of this, right? So I think I want the compass, and I'm going to put that on this side. So I'm going to cut it this way. And again, this was 3 by 12. So we'll go 3 by 12. And I get a good chunk of that. Let's see if I go 3 by 12 and 3 by 12. I'm going to take them both from this side. They won't go together on my page, but I still should be able to use that. Let's do that. It'll go this way. This is how it would be on my page if I left the compass that way. Maybe I go this way and take the top, it'll go across. Okay, we'll do that. I will go this way at 3 inches. Let me turn the book over so we can see what's going on. And again, I'm going to cut this at 4 inches. And we will, that's extra, sorry. And when we were going to rotate this one at 6, again, I'm not cutting it to 3.5 by 4.5. I'm cutting 4 by 6, just in case we can use that size. And our last one is going to be the cardstock for me. So we have 4 of them that are at 1/2 inch. So again, as you know, always cut the 1/2 inch on the left hand side. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then our last one are 2 6.5 by 4.5 inch mats. So we're going to cut it at 6.5. So I have the 6.5 by 12. This sheet is left over. And then we're going to rotate this to be 4.5 and 4.5. Now we still need to cut our punches. And I have a couple here. I have the square tile and the blooming medallion. But I'm not going to cut them yet. I'm going to get it all laid out first, and then I'm going to come back and cut after. So I'm going to put those back at the top there. Okay, so let's move everything out of the way. And we will put these, oh, actually not quite yet. I need to figure out how I'm going to, I'm just going to lay this here, and I'm just going to grab one of these papers, one of my cement, because I need to see how I'm going to put this together. So this one goes in the middle. So since it's 4 inches, you're going to go from 4 to 8. Then I'm going to have my map at the bottom. And again, I have to have something down here. We know that. But I'm trying to see if I should just cut this in half. That will give me better. I think so. So I'm just going to cut these. So the old Creative Memories cardstock was 10 by 12. And I'm going to cut these at 5. So let's just do 1 to start with. And this is why I don't like having my cutter on top of something, because it gets wobbly and then doesn't cut straight. Okay, so let me just, before I cut the second one, I want to take a look. So I'm going to piece this, this will be at the top. And again, this is just because I'm using 10 by 12 old cardstock. Good way to use up some cardstock. This will be probably good. Then I may not need my strips that I cut for welding. And then let's just take a look at this. So this one actually, oh, there's my brown one. These are coming down closer to the bottom. So it looks like this is at 1/2 inch. And then you have this 1/2 inch piece. Then this one, this one, because, let me just take a look at that. Oh, that looks pretty good. Sorry, I went and then I cut this while I was away. So let's get our 2 cement pieces. Then we have our brown piece that's going to go across the middle. It is overlapping, so I have that to be able to attach it to. The compass that I wanted to keep part of will go here. And again, we're going to put that at an inch. And we're going to look at this when we talk about the punches. And then I have my dot one. And then I have the brown. Now, if we look, this is a pretty small punch as well as this. This is antlers, if you're wondering what that is. Um, I have it here. This is from the Outdoor Adventures, and you can see it as a bird, a fish, a bird, and antlers. So they have the antlers across here, and then they have the birds punched out over here. Okay, so that's what that punch is, if you were wondering. Now, if I do these punches, either way, because I was thinking this shape might go, they're going to overlap with this one. And so is that what I want? Or do I want to overlap these a little bit? Because we need a half an inch at the bottom. I could overlap these a little bit more. And this comes down to an inch and a half. They're still going to overlap a little bit. So that's some options when we're doing our punching. And then I need to figure out, do I want to keep with, I think I'm going to keep with the square tile. Now we're supposed to be using designer paper number 1. So let's cut just a couple of those and see if we like that, because we still do have leftovers and we have reverse sides of some of the other punches. Okay, so let us go and see here, and then we're gonna put our mats down. So I'm just gonna cut a couple for us to look at, and then I will finish it offline. And this wasn't going in that way. I can always cut a little closer, so not. So they have, and this is going to depend how many you need, depending on how big your punch piece actually is. So I have these. And see, I was thinking they would just look nice up on the beige. Now, do I like them when they're overlapping with the dark brown? You know, maybe I use that side, but I don't have any of that color in my page. So let's see, I don't want to cut my mats. Let's get my mats out, because I still do have some strips of other paper that I could use, because maybe the map one would look better there. So let's see where our mats go and still continue to punch. Again, remember, we keep talking, you don't need to follow everything in the project recipe. You can, most definitely, if you know exactly what you want and it works for your pictures, go ahead and do that. So we would be alternating these mats. And see, I can actually fit the 4x6s here. So you could do that. This one could even still go, you know, vertical. It blends in a lot more than in the book, but I think once you have your photos there, oh, and actually I have photos to try. So let's see how these work, and still got to figure out what I'm punching at the top, but let me get some photos. So this is us arriving in the Mediterranean at the resort. I have some sunset pictures. I was going to use a peekaboo pocket. See, so I think with all those pictures, you're not going to see, I have to cut this down a little bit because this is 4x6. You're not going to see a lot of that mat behind there. I'll do this one. So I think those will look good. Now I just have to figure out my punch and how many I need. And is this one the best one to use, or the round one? So leaves you options to think about. And this one, actually, I may be able to complete the layout. But again, remember, if you want to see my completed layout, I'll either try to post it at the beginning of the video if I have it completed before the video goes up, or I will post it on my scrapbook with Denise once I finish playing with what I want to do with the punches. Well, I decided to work on it a little bit more for this recording because it was still bothering me. So as you can see, I totally changed my mind. Once I looked at the pictures and I looked at this balcony, the cyclic circles like are perfect match to those. So what I did is I didn't use this piece. I cut a border with the cyclic circle with the border maker, and then I cut it at 1 1/4. So I'm using that instead of this strip and the punch outs, the punches, but I'm keeping this one at the bottom because then it brings it in. So you can see I left these ones, I cut my pictures to 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. These are still 4 by 6s. And then this one is a 4 by 3 3/4 picture. So I cut down one of the mats. See, so I was able to do that because I left that whole 4 by 12 or cut it into 4 by 6 pieces. Now I can use peekaboo pockets because I do have more pictures to put on this page. I need to go look at embellishments. The journaling for this is on a previous page, but I may be able to add a title or something if I want to move this one down and put a title up here. I could do that. So I can still play with this page, but I wanted to show you what I came up with. So still have the 6 pictures, ended up having 3 that are bigger than in the project recipe, but was able to get all those on. So I do like the way that that turned out. Hope that you like that. Hope you got some ideas. So we'll see you again next week. Happy scrapping, and thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.